Nice. So thank you, Tez. I'll take it away, give it to you.
Awesome. Thank you. So as the official cameraman, I'm just going to talk about cameras. No, so I'm the founder of Guild. So thanks for signing up on Guild, as Dan mentioned. And yeah, I guess fundamentally we're a platform for communities. And so, I'm a longtime GraphQL user, love GraphQL, really enjoy it. And so we built everything using GraphQL. Since our entire product is, consumer-based, it needs to work across a variety of different geographies and et cetera, et cetera. And so, yeah, I'll just kind of open DevTools and show you how it works and show you how we think about it, how we design it, how we do all of our querying effectively and all those kind of fun things, and just show you from like a real world perspective. So without further ado, I'm going to take Jamie's laptop and not go to any URLs I shouldn't be going to. And so we'll open up guild.host, and hopefully it loads pretty fast. There we go, lovely. And let's open up DevTools. And so essentially, and I'll make sure this is a bit bigger. Let's look at that, shall we? And let's kind of pull this a bit up there and type in GraphQL over here. So if I refresh the page, we'll see, wait a minute, it made 0 GraphQL queries at all. What's going on? This is supposed to be a GraphQL talk. Well, that's because on the very first page load, we actually server-side everything using Cloudflare Workers. So this page is entirely built using React Native targeted to the web platform. All of the different data requirements on this page is defined using Relay. We actually get all of that in the first page load and embed it within the page load itself. So if you were a real nerd like I am, the cameraman, of course, I would go to Elements and kind of look for GraphQL down here. So we can actually see initial Relay data passed over as a script tag, and we can see a full Relay JSON payload embedded in that first page load. So the very first page load for every single page you load, unless you're authenticated, will actually read from this Relay store and hydrate the GraphQL cache based off of that. So if you go back to this page, you already have everything you need. All right, cool. So what if we go to a different page? Be adventurous and go to a whole new page. Maybe like this events page over here, perhaps. We can see, oh, wow, that's a weird request. It's kind of like GraphQL with like a bunch of like what nows after it. Doesn't look like anything English or code or anything. But actually, that's a GraphQL persisted query. So basically what we've done here is everything going to /GraphQL/ a SHA-256 hash of the operation itself. That's a persisted query. And so the advantage of that is, is quite cacheable. Again, we use Cloudflare extensively for our entire infrastructure, so that's quite cacheable on edge. What we also have done is for something like, if I scroll down here in this tiny window and then click the More button, we can see for this request here, I should have probably changed this around a little bit so it's not as tiny. We actually pass a XGQL vars header that includes all of the different variables for that persisted query. So this is making a GET request to CDN. GET requests have a character limit on the URL itself, and so we've actually added a header to pass over any sort of variables as kind of more dynamic data, such that we're not kind of hitting that usually 2,000 character URL limit. On that point, GraphQL RFCs. I'm going to go to all the different, you have a British keyboard, I'm not used to this. We're going to go to the GraphQL RFCs. Actually, we've just been working on a RFC for GraphQL over HTTP, which talks about this. So it's somewhere on their GitHub. Should have had this open before, my bad, but it's somewhere in here. GraphQL over HTTP, but basically, long story short, it's meant to help define a common way to do things like this, to do persistent queries, and the advantage of that is for things like CDN providers and so on and so forth, to just kind of provide it out of the box, so everyone can kind of benefit from this. We built a lot of this custom in-house. Stale while revalidate on Edge. Again, global caching across over 200 Cloudflare Edge locations. Big fan of this type of architecture. Now, of course, how do we actually get the data into that? That's kind of the next thing. How do we actually generate kind of all that data? How do we actually hit a database? And I'm sure a lot of you have heard. I'm kind of curious. Like who's scared of the N+1 problem? Oh, yeah, you're scared of it? Yeah, it's not Halloween yet, so nobody get dressed up. So yeah, and N+1 problem often talked about as being one of those real big pain points about using GraphQL. And the whole concept of it is that for every single kind of field or whatever you're querying in GraphQL, it becomes another fetch for all of those different things, and that can kind of build up pretty quickly on some sort of backend. What we use is something by a GraphQL TSC member, Benji, and it's called PostgresFile. So I'm a big fan of this myself. Essentially, what it does is essentially it will generate a GraphQL schema from your database, and I'm sure we've all heard of that before. I see someone in the Hasura, sir. Are you from Hasura? I'm sure you'll tell us all about that in a minute. and so Hasura is a fantastic option for that. There's several other fantastic. I think Neo4j has a built-in GraphQL as well, which kind of just hits their database. So all those fantastic choices. The reason why we chose this was because it's you can actually use TypeScript plugins. Although I just heard TypeScript is dead, so maybe not. You can use TypeScript plugins to actually compose how you want that fundamental schema to look. And so, for example, we use Relay on our front end. We want a Relay compatible schema. We can just kind of use the plugins to define that. We like GraphQL because of its abstract types such as unions and interface types, and we want the generated schema to also utilize those types. We're able to generate a schema up through that. And so check out PostgresFile. In particular, check out PostgresFile v5, which is somewhere on here, I'm sure, which is their latest thing that Benji's working on, and it has far more sophisticated support for that. Last but not least, I mentioned we use Relay, so let me just do a very quick run of Relay GraphQL. Oh, again, your entry key is in the wrong spot, mate. And big fan of Relay. I'll let you go and take a look at Relay for yourself. I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with it. But we use this on our front end. I think, if I was to say one thing that I really like and we really like about Relay, it's the declarative cache updates. And so what do I mean by that? And so if I type in append node prepend edge. Whenever so with this example that they're giving here, you're creating a comment using a mutation, and you have this directive to say, hey, when this comment is created, add it to all these connections, add it to all these kind of lists within the system. And so in other GraphQL clients, I'm not going to name any of them, but you're often expected to manually update the cache. So you have to write actual code to do that. The nice thing I like about Relay is that this becomes declarative. You can just say, hey, that directive updates those connections, and you're done. That's really all you need to do. And then you can pass that connection ID. You can either grab it from somewhere else that you've requested it, or grab it more programmatically in that way. And so the nice thing about this, all this is validated against Relay's compiler, so you kind of know it should be working. You'll get an error on the compilation step if that's incorrect for whatever reason. Yeah, fundamentally, you need to write less TypeScript, which is dead anyway. So kind of did everyone a favor. Yeah, that's a very, very, very quick rundown of our architecture. But yeah, go ahead, feel free, play around. Check out Guild, refresh the page, you'll see nothing. And then if you click on a guild like this one, for example, you'll see the request that it's making. And yeah, just kind of poke around, have a look. Cool.
Thanks, Taz. Thank you very much.